Historically speaking, public and political policy deny or minimize the existence of gang-related activities in mainstream society. If they were acknowledged, gang members were labeled, stereotyped, or zeroed in as those dysfunctional youth, primarily from inner cities. Today, the unprecedented trends of violent gang-related crimes now has the attention of urban, suburban, and rural communities. So, are you ready now to address the source of where this mindset is being bred with such a contempt for the law? And because you continued to watch this far, wanting an answer to the question, you will be given an eye opening revelation into early deviant behavioral signs that could lead to a holistic intervention. In this tutorial on real criminal justice reform, I am honored to have created for you an 8-hour certificate course on gang awareness for educators, as accredited by the Georgia Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. So let's get out your notepad or a smart device and prepare your thought leadership in this introductory tutorial on breaking down criminal deviance and its influence on youth participating in gang-related cultures. A call to action for primal authorities just like you to make a bigger difference in the lives of the students entrusted to your stewardship. I am Charles Rambo, a retired lieutenant with over 30 years of law enforcement expertise in a major county sheriff's office, certified as a senior instructor by the Georgia Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. I have taught hundreds of law enforcement officers, citizens, criminal justice, and sociology degree students, and clergy members about organized crime and criminal street gangs. With a combination of expert training as a state gang investigator and intelligence analyst by the United States Department of Homeland Security, I also served as co-commander of the Sheriff's Tactical Intelligence Network Group for identifying and suppressing gang activities between county jails, state prisons, and Fulton regional counties. Today, I am honored to serve on an educational committee with clinical counselors and mental health professionals on how neuroscience can set the standard in the law enforcement citizen interaction from escalating into out of control events. And while these are some of my professional credentials, the real authentic value that I bring to presenting this module goes well beyond quoting statistics, showing you some gang tattoos, or reciting some hardcore lyrics from a rap song. Nevertheless, I bring a more profound perspective from having the keys to the street and face-to-face interactions with active and reformed members from every level of gang cultures. An evidence-based commitment of enjoining youth to truth and patience to help them pull themselves out of the indoctrination of the third world thug life and back to being on a path to greatness. We begin by defining a criminal street gang as cited in the official code of Georgia annotated as any organization, association, or group of 3 or more persons associated in fact, whether formal or informal, which engages in criminal gang activity. The existence of such organization, association, or group of individuals associated in fact may be established by the evidence of a common name, common identifying signs, symbols, tattoos, graffiti, attire, or other distinguishing characteristics, including but not limited to common activities, customs, or behaviors. Second, we connect the dots of the law to the definitions of deviance as behaviors and attitudes that go against society's norms, values, and expectations. With this revelation, here is the eye-opening reality that stares down the public consensus about gangs being trends or stages of fads, fantasy worlds, or wannabe criminals. Gangs are a counterculture of an individual turned to collective mindset ingrained in antisocial behaviors of their existence in poverty, racism, inequality, or dysfunctional relationships that they are currently or have experienced within the primal environments from mainstream society. Factors that motivate a contempt for the law and authority in carrying out terrible retributions of violent crime as seen today in urban, suburban, and rural communities. So, in my signature Socratic style of teaching, I want you to carefully consider right now that the dysfunctionality of primal environments are not specific to any one race, culture, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. Instead, the proximate causations are where contempt is bred and where the checks and balances are either non existent or ineffective in remediating early warning signs of deviant behavior. Please, as you continue in your Socratic thought leadership and note taking, ask yourself why, prior to legislation on the Criminal Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act and Georgia House Bill 147, the Safe School Act, did public and political policy on crime and disorder choose to sidestep the emerging trends of criminal street gang activities? The hard truth, and it's straight from the source, so please don't be offended. It would be a direct reflection of the primal environments, the singular or collective sources of homes, schools, houses of worship, or other community based institutions. Environments where youth without holistic guidance deviated from the rules and norms established by primal authority figures such as parents, educators, public officials, clergy, and other stewards of the community. Here are the two stages where the deviant behavior can either be remediated or will escalate into a terrible retribution. First, in the primary stage, the rule breaker, where the standardized customs are not being adhered to in the primal environment. When a rule has been broken, the youth will remediate their behavior to establish standards with positive or negative reinforcements from the primal authorities. Unfortunately, when communities lack affirmative primal authorities, the deviant behavior escalates into the secondary stage, a lawbreaker who, in the primary stage of behavior, was not corrected by the primal authorities. What follows is now being labeled as a misfit, troublemaker, or thug by primal authorities, and now in interactions with the criminal justice system. At this stage, youth individually or collectively will align their deviant behaviors, motivations, habits, and attitudes with an honorarium of being a rejected member of society. A transition from being a rule breaker in primal environments to now being a lawbreaker in urban, suburban, and rural communities. This stage of criminal deviance now opens the door for actors of criminal street gangs to fill the void of the primal authorities. By offering acceptance and cultivation of youth, they can now live out their label in the third world gang life to the benefit of their new mentors. A counterculture that further breeds contempt for the law with terrible retributions. This thug life is far from being a fantasy world, as evidenced by recruiting and scouting of high school, middle school, and elementary students, proving acts of love through brutal initiations of being sexed in, beat in, or committing more heinous criminal acts, branding and awareness through symbols, tattoos, and colors, indoctrination, internalizing the structure of the gang in books of knowledge, Bibles, and or bylaws, funding through currency from illegal ventures, crossing into other communities, urban, suburban, and rural communities, now deemed as turf to establish their respect value. Showcasing, having put in the work on the streets and now facing various levels of the juvenile court, or even worse, the honorarium of being charged as an adult. Networking, by leading or collaborating with members on social media or gaming platforms. Further being incarcerated in local jails, state and federal prisons to form a more complicated hybrid gang culture or insurgency. And so, to you, my dear counterparts in the education field, and all other levels of primal authorities who have a stewardship over youth, you must know that gang cultures are far from being a fad or a fantasy. We have to recognize and report these signs of deviant behaviors because, unfortunately, the mindsets are being cultivated to breed a contempt for the law and with a terrible retribution. Take, for example, the Trinity Declaration, Mi Bada Loca, or My Crazy Life, a dedication to a lifestyle of incarceration, the emergency room, and yes, even the cemetery. And the grim reality is that for every gang member who goes to jail, the intensive care unit, or is listed as a homicide statistic, there are more in the pipeline from the dysfunctional primal environments eagerly waiting to take their place. And last, Here are the 3R reinforcements of gang cultures. Behavioral cues that further demonstrate contempt for the law and with terrible retribution. Respect. The central theme in a gang member's lifestyle is to be respected by the group, rivals, and non-members. A willingness to do anything for the gang is the basis to gain that respect. Reputation. Being feared by others is a badge of honor. The more violent and antisocial the label, the better for their rep. And it does not matter if the youth is buffed or is a whimsical person. If they do not receive the respect that they feel that they deserve, the more aggressive and violent that the behavior will be exhibited in the urban, suburban, and rural community. And retaliation. No act of disrespect towards my gang, no matter how small, will not go without some form of response from the individual or collective membership. In closing, I sincerely ask you to forgive me in advance for presenting and aligning these realities about the Criminal Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, criminal deviance, labeling, and the 3R reinforcements of gang cultures to your individual or collective accountabilities. As stated, this is not just a call to action from my law enforcement expertise. It is the voices of active and reformed gang members warning that if we do not act now, we will continue to regret later. And the resounding consensus is that it's going to take more than just checks and balances of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government, which they feel are conspiring against their success. So regardless of the primal authority that you represent, when those grassroots institutions can come together, you are the most powerful ties to the community, the primal-based check and balances that can conspire for the success of our youth to see their lives beyond incarceration, the emergency room, or the cemetery. Thank you for watching this tutorial on real criminal justice reform. These insights have provided a foundation for identifying deviant behaviors as the first stage towards anti-gang intervention strategies so that our youth can live their best life like it's golden. Please download the free handout for this tutorial at criminaljusticelearning.online and share it across the spectrum of primal authorities just like you who want to take a stand and make a difference. You can also find detailed information on the website of how to bring this engaging 8-hour certificate course to your school district. Please follow me on social media on Instagram at Instructor Rambo, Facebook at Criminal Justice Learning Online, and LinkedIn at Charles Rambo. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel dedicated to a new generation of criminal justice leaders, concerned educators, clergy, citizens, and yes, even reform OG gangsters just like you, who discern youth just like me on our life's journey by looking beyond our faults and keeping us on path to our life's mission.